Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of TarotCelebritea with your boy Ducky. Today, we are going to be reading some cards for Deng Lun and Yang Zi. Deng Lun. I think it's Deng Lun. Uh, First and foremost, I do want to apologize if I mispronounce either of these beautiful people's names. That is not my intention. Also, remember that these videos are for entertainment purposes. And why is that, you may ask? That is because we do not have Deng Lun nor Yang Zi here to confirm nor deny that what I'm seeing in the cards and how I'm interpreting the cards is resonating with them or is not resonating with them. That's not to say that I'm not accurate, but we just don't know for sure, right? So just remember to take these videos with a grain of salt. Don't come for me if I say something that you're not happy with. I'm sorry. I'm just relaying what I'm seeing on the cards based off of my 6+ years of practicing reading tarot cards. Okay, I just had to throw that in. I just had to boast a little bit. Okay, a lot of these new tarot card readers are like, oh my gosh, but they haven't been doing it for a good while. And your boy Ducky has. I'm just now finally deciding to come public about it. So yeah. Anyway, where am I going? Yeah, that's all I got. So let's start. What am I doing? All right. So let's start with this reading. All right, let me compose myself because I'm a ducky for the people, by the people. And this was a beautiful request of someone who watched my video and heard me saying ducky for the people, by the people. So this is why I'm doing this video today. Because some people go on my videos, they don't even watch my videos. They just request. They don't even support their ducky. But that's okay. That's another video for another time. Anyway, let's get started on Deng Lun and Yang Zi's connection. So let's start with their combined energy. Whenever Deng Lun and Yang Zi are together, or maybe they're chatting with one another, what is their combined energy whenever they interact with one another? We got the Five of Bats. Oh. There's some thoughts, self-defeating thoughts, I feel. The Knight of Bats in reverse. With Temperance. I want to get a little bit more information on this Five of Bats. What are these defeating thoughts? Self-defeated. What is this defeatist mentality? What is this about? The Nine of Bats in reverse. Ooh. Okay. So I feel like Yang Zi might get in her head a little bit. I feel like the reason why I'm thinking is because the Nine of Bats represents anxiety, right? Look at this woman not able to go to bed. She's like, no, I can't sleep. But when this card comes in reverse, to me, this card represents, whenever it's in reverse, there's so much anxiety, there's so much mental anguish that this person kind of gets in their own way. And I'm saying it's Yang Zi because, you know, it's there's a woman in this card. There's a feminine energy. So whoever represents more feminine energy, I feel like is a little bit more of the anxious type of person. It could also be Deng Lun. It could be Deng Lun that's, more anxious, but there's someone here that kind of gets in their own head. They overthink things, and before even something happens, they already are in this like defeated mindset. The Five of Bats is all about having a defeated mindset, and you need to change it around. Now, the interesting thing here is that the last card here was Temperance, which is all about balancing. There's a sense of balance in this connection where there's like a person here who is very anxious, has difficulty sleeping because of their anxiety. They're always worried. They're always thinking of like the worst case scenario of things, and it allows, and like it doesn't allow them to sleep, and take a lot of action. But then we also got the Knight of Bats or the Knight of Swords here in reverse. And I feel like, to me, the Knight of Swords is a very fast moving knight, but when it comes in reverse, there's inaction, right? But because this is the Knight of Swords, the element of air, which is all about our thoughts and the way we speak and communicate, I really feel like maybe it's Deng Lun who's like, listen, Yang Zi, chill. You're doing too much, BB girl. You're doing too much. Just chill, relax. And there's a sense of good balance here, because I feel like one person here is so anxious and crippled by anxiety, and the other person is like, just chill. Like, what? I mean, what is your anxiety gonna help improve? Like, nothing. The situation ain't gonna change if you keep worrying about it, so why worry about it, you know? And this is really good. It's very balancing. There's a lot of balance here. And I feel like this connection is helping whoever has these self-defeating mindsets, these self-defeating thoughts. This connection is helping them kind of be a little bit more still, and not always have to be on the go, and not always have to have their mind running. There is a great sense of balance here within their connection, again, with that Temperance card showing up. Now, let's start with Deng Lun. When Deng Lun thinks of Yang Zi, what comes to his mind? What does he think? What does he feel? That card wanted to come out, but speaking of feeling, I wasn't feeling it. I didn't feel like it was the right card. We got the star. Yes. Deng Lun thinks that Yang Zi is star. He's hopeful. He's optimistic. He just thinks so many great things about Yang Zi. Let's keep going. With the Hanged Man. Woo! All right. What does Yang Zi think of Deng Lun? Oh. Oh. The Lovers in reverse. Oh. Oh. All right, let's keep going. What does Yang Zi think of Deng Lun? With the Nine of Wands in reverse. Yeah. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe Yang Zi is the more chill and laid back, and maybe it's Deng Lun that's a little bit more like always in his head. And the reason why maybe I'm starting to see that, because remember earlier I was like, it could be, I mean, it could definitely be the other way around. You know, I was like, just because I'm seeing a feminine energy here doesn't mean that it can't be Deng Lun. And I'm getting a little bit more of a clearer picture with the way that these cards are showing up for how Yang Zi views Deng Lun, or what comes to her mind when she thinks of this. I don't know. There's just a sense here where, like, when Yang Zi thinks of Deng Lun, what comes to her mind? There's some indecisiveness. There's a little bit of indecision here. She doesn't know, like, when she thinks of Deng Lun, what does Yang Zi think? She doesn't think that, like, maybe he overthinks things. Maybe he does, you know, because the Lovers is all about making a choice, having to make a choice, being decisive. But when it comes in reverse, there's an indecision here. And the indecisiveness is because you're like, your heart wants to do one thing, your mind wants to do another thing, or like you're like always thinking like, oh my gosh, if I make this decision, what are people gonna think? What if I don't do it? You know, like there's always that what if. And it's causing a lacking of action, a lacking of making a decision. So, and there's also a lack of resilience here, showing up with the Nine of Wands in reverse. You know, the Nine of Wands is all about being resilient. It's all about staying, you know, sticking through. Even when things start going tough, you still stick through them. But when it comes in reverse, you start to kind of question your strength. You start to question your perseverance, and you don't continue pushing through when times get tough. So I feel like when Yang Zi thinks of Deng Lun, maybe she thinks of someone who isn't very strong or confident in themselves and lets other people's opinions dictate their actions or their choices, their reasonings, or lack of action, choices, and reasonings. Um, so that's what I'm seeing. Now, the beautiful thing here is that Deng Lun thinks so many great things of Yang Zi because we got two major arcana cards. You know, so when Deng Lun thinks of Yang Zi, he thinks he's very hopeful. He's very optimistic when he thinks of Yang Zi. You know, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of abundance. There's a lot of joy. So there's a lot of joy that comes to Deng Lun when he thinks of Yang Zi, and also when he thinks of her, he also thinks of someone who just kind of goes with the flow. You know, like doesn't really let anything really affect them too much. So, and that makes sense with this Knight of Bats in reverse, like I was mentioning earlier, that there's a connection. There's a connection here where like one person's like, stop, you need to chill. What is worrying gonna do except like make you lose sleep, and that's it. Like the situation isn't gonna get any better. The situation isn't gonna change the more you worry. So why worry? You know. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. Like when Deng Lun thinks of Yangzi, he thinks of someone who's always like joyful, happy, optimistic, and goes with the flow. You know, like is able to when quote unquote bad things happen or unfortunate circumstances happen in Yangzi's life, she's just like, whatever, you know, like it was meant to happen. You know, she's like, it was meant to be, so I'm just gonna go with it. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. I mean, of course, it could be switched. Depend, you know, like, because I go into these readings blindly. I don't really know anything about Deng Lun and Yang Zi. Um, so I'm just going based off of what I'm seeing in the cards. So I could very much have these situations, you know, opposite. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing here. All right, so let's do Deng Lun and Yang Zi's relationship compatibility because I know some people love this, um, love knowing. So what's the is there a good compatibility here for a romantic connection between the two of them? We got the Seven of Bats. I'm going to say no. There's some deception here. There's some kind of mind games here. And I think it's the person who is always anxious that plays the mind games. This person is very self-defeating. So they kind of are going to, whoever here is very self-defeating and maybe allows their anxiety to kind of constrict them and bind them. I feel like this person might is a little deceptive, might do some things, might omit the truth, might not verbalize things, and that comes across as deceptive. You know, when you're omitting, when you're not telling the complete truth, that's still kind of lying. You know, it still is viewed as lying. I view it as lying. Um it's not being honest, and I feel like the connection here, if there were to be in a relationship, there's going to be a little bit of deception here because there's maybe a lack of communication or of not communicating the full story, the full truth. So I don't really see romantic connection here. But let's finish off this beautiful video with some advice for the two of them and their connection. I'm just gonna pull one tarot and one oracle card. Advice, Page of Pumpkins in reverse with, let's see, patterns. Patterns. Someone here is in that pattern of being very self-defeating. Even before they even know what the outcome is, they just think of the worst possible case scenario. And there's people that are like that, that are like, yeah, I like to plan for like the worst possible case scenario. That way I'm not surprised by anything, and if something good happens, then great. But my mentality is like, why are you going to worry about the worst case scenario? Like, that's a pattern, you know? And that's not a great and healthy pattern to have. It's great to consider the negative options, but it's not good to like constantly repeat the same like negative what ifs. It's good to be realistic and be like, okay, this not so great. This is the worst case scenario that is possible that it can happen, but these are also other scenarios that can happen that are a lot better than this one. And so there's the advice here that I'm seeing is for them to acknowledge these patterns, especially these patterns of not being confident in oneself, not being proud of one's achievements. You know, the Page of Pumpkins to me is the card of someone who's very proud of their achievements, regardless of if they only have one little pumpkin that they had harvested, or if they have tons of pumpkins. But regardless if they got 1 or 100 pumpkins harvested that season, they're still proud of their little pumpkin. They're still proud of their what they've accomplished, you know. But the with this in reverse as an advice card, the advice I'm seeing is for them to really acknowledge these patterns of not feeling adequate or not being confident in oneself, based off of their achievements, what they have achieved, what they've conquered thus far. And I think that'll really help them. So help their connection. So that's what I'm seeing in this reading. Let me know what you thought of this video, if it resonated at all with anything that you know about Deng Lun and Yang Zi. I just Googled them here. Deng Lun, Yang Zi. Deng Lun and Yang Zi are confirmed marriage. Oh, so there you go. Maybe I was wrong. um, so yeah, but that's kind of what I'm seeing, you know, like regardless of, and it could, and again, omitting the truth, there's a little bit of a deception here. So now that I know that they're in a relationship, this deceptiveness is still go it can still happen, you know, and they just got to be mindful of this. They got to be aware of this. Again, be aware of the patterns. That way, they don't get into this deceptive energy, or it comes across as deceptive, you know, because maybe one person is not very confident in what they have done. And so they omit it, you know, they don't say it, you know, maybe, for example, let's say me, your boy Ducky, I went and I messed around with an ex friends with benefits, and then I tell my friends, "Oh no, I haven't seen them since then." But it's because I feel bad that I made a mistake, that I made a fluke, and then later on they find out that I lied to them, and they're like, "Oh, that's a little deceptive." Like, just because you weren't proud of what you did, you decided not to tell us. That's a little deceptive. That's considered, I mean, yeah, that's lying. So they just got to be careful of that. But there's, again, good balance here. There's a really good balance between their connection, whether there's one person who maybe stresses out, is very anxious, and there's another person who goes with the flow. And I really think that maybe it's Yang Zi who kind of goes with the flow and is very positive and is able to see the upsides of things. And maybe Deng Lun is still working on being more confident and proud of himself, and not letting other people's actions or opinions dictate his choices. So that's what I'm seeing in this reading. Let me know what you thought. Um, but yeah, I see a lot of goodness here, but there's also a little bit of like that deceptiveness, you know, of omitting the truth, not really telling the complete story, or not like telling things that you're proud of because you're ashamed. And so there's no need to do that. Acknowledge your patterns, be more proud of yourself even when you mess up, because when you acknowledge that you made a mistake, at least you're still going to be able to grow from it because you're acknowledging the mistake. and you're trying to fix those patterns of like, maybe why did I make this mistake, or why did I do this? I know this choice was a bad choice, but why did I do it, you know? So I think that'll really take them far. But that's it for this video. Feel free to give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, or a thumbs down if you didn't like the video and you thought this video is booty and you're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Feel free to let me know in the comments section, but try and be a little bit nice about it, because I can be a little bit sensitive. And me being a Gemini on the Taurus cusp, if I feel like someone's coming at me sideways, depending on my mood, I might come at them sideways. And I don't want to do that. I'm trying, you know, speaking of acknowledging your patterns, I don't want to do that. But anyway, remember to take care of yourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and sexually. Love and respect yourselves and others. And as always, stay hydrated. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all on the next video. Bye.